Hello, I'm Fire Commissioner Lloyd Ayers, here with the City of Philadelphia, and I'd like to say welcome to Freedom from Fire. Today, I have speaking to us, giving you information about our Fire Communications Center, Mr. Michael Moore. Also, I have Mr. Kirk Berry, and he's going to talk to you about Project DAD. So stay tuned. We have a great show waiting for you. One of the things I like to talk about is our seniors. The past 2 years, we've had a very high toll here in the city of Philadelphia that's been taken on our senior citizens. We would like to just give you a few tips so that you can become more safe and keep that loved one safe if you have a senior in your care. One, we want you to be kitchen-wise. And when we say kitchen-wise, we're talking about several things. One, wearing tight-fitting clothing or rolling up your sleeves when you're cooking. We have had a lot of cooking burns and a lot of cooking fires here in the city of Philadelphia. So far this year, it's been the #1 cause of fire deaths in the city. Also, we want to talk about the use of oven mitts, making sure that you put those mitts on. If you have something in the oven, you have to make sure that you have the mitts so that you can take it out safely and get it to a surface and not burn yourself. Very important. We've had a lot of burns where seniors have spilled things on themselves, or unfortunately, they've started to take something out of the oven, forgetting that they don't have their oven mitts on. Okay, never leave cooking unattended. Some of the things that you can do is you can, if you're cooking, take that spoon and go to take care of that other errand or go to another room, but keep a spoon with you so that you can remember that there's something on the stove. Very important that you do that. Some of the tripping hazards. We go in and out of houses where we have to take our seniors to the hospital where they've taken a fall because they've slipped on either a stair or in a walking area where they have rugs, beautiful rugs, but they're not really tightened down or fixed to the floor, and sometimes they slip. We don't want you to be slipping, so make sure that you use non-stick mats. Make sure that you use things that are going to cause you to keep your footing and not cause you to lose your footing. And also, make sure that you wear shoes that have sturdy, non-slip soles. I understand how comfortable it is to come into the house and put on your slippers, take it easy, but you want to make sure that they're non-slip so that when you're walking around through the house, you don't have an opportunity where you could slip either going upstairs, downstairs, or walking through your home. So we want you to do that. Also, we would like for you to remember, exercise regularly. Exercise is good for you. It will help you to stay strong, keep your strength up, making sure that you can have the activity of your limbs to do different things around the house that's required to keep the house and other things. And you also want to make sure that you have enough strength, stamina, and the flexibility that you need should you have to leave the house in an emergency. Well, I don't know about you, but sometimes I have to get up early in the morning, and it's not as easy to get up and get out if you haven't exercised. So you want to make sure that you exercise, that you're in good shape so that you can take care of yourself. If you have a senior that you're taking care of, make sure that they follow this good, orderly direction so that they can be safe in their homes. So I'd like to say thank you for listening in. And right now, we have our first guest, and that is Mr. Michael Moore. He's the Chief Dispatcher for the Communications Center here in the city of Philadelphia. But first, I would like for you to take a look at this.
Administration building is home to the Fire Communications Center.
My name is Janine Bundy. I am a supervisor, and I've been here for a total of 11 years. Well, we start off, the first thing we do, we announce who we are, answer the phone, Philadelphia Fire Department, dispatcher, whatever your dispatch number is, mine is 685, where's the location of your emergency. So the first thing we're asking is for location. The secondary question will be, what's the phone number, the callback number you're calling from. Then we ask those two questions up front. It's very important because if we get disconnected, at least we have an address and a phone number to get back in touch with the person that's calling. The way the room is set up, we have call takers and we have radio operators. So initially when calls come in, they do come in through police. That's where all 911 calls are going to. Once the police operator ascertains if it's a medical or fire emergency, they then transfer it over to us. From that point on, our call takers answer the phone. They determine whether or not it's a fire or medical emergency. If it's a fire emergency, they dispatch the job to the north or south fire bands. And if it's a medical emergency, the job is sent over to the north or south medic bands.
Attention engine 13, cover engine 29, engine 13, cover engine 29.
There are 3 monitors. The first monitor is the Vesta phone system. That is the computer where you will see when that's where all the calls come in, and you answer the line, and we get any alley information. It will show you where the caller is calling from, so you'll get that type of information. The second and third computer is our CAD, which is our computer-aided dispatch system. That's the computer where we input all of the assignments, and the last computer, which is also attached to it, is our maps. So whatever address we put into CAD, it'll populate it on the map, and we can see the area and streets and things of that nature.
Go through policy and procedure study and comprehension of actions that need to be taken during certain circumstances. They receive computer training through a computer-aided dispatch system, CAD as we call it, emergency medical dispatch certification, CPR certification, which is a prerequisite for the emergency medical dispatch program.
All right, let rescue know when they arrive. Rescue is already en route, okay? If your condition worsens before they get there, call 911 back.
Mike, good to see you. Thank you for being here with us at Freedom from Fire. And first, how long have you been a dispatcher, and how long have you been the chief dispatcher for the city of Philadelphia?
Okay, first, Commissioner, let me say thank you so much for having me on the program today. It's an honor. On March 31st, I just completed my 34th year with the department, all within the Fire Communications Center. I started out as an entry-level dispatcher trainee and went through all the ranks, full-fledged call taker dispatcher, FCC operational supervisor, staff supervisor, and now I serve in the role as the unit head, the chief dispatcher.
Well, I tell you, you've done fine work, worked very well for the city of Philadelphia, and I really appreciate it.
Okay.
So what types of calls are received by a Fire Communications Center?
The Fire Communications Center, we process approximately 1,000 911 requests for service a year, as well as approximately 500 administrative supportive type of calls for the fire department. As far as 911 goes, the way the telephone company with the city has set up 911 is that the original call is routed by the telephone company to the police department, their police radio headquarters. Police standard operating procedure deems that once they ascertain it's of a fire or medical call in nature, then they will conference it over to the Fire Communications Center, located at Fire Headquarters, Fire Administration Building, 240 Spring Garden Street. Within our center, we will then take the fire or EMS request. We will process it, utilize various communications, IT infrastructure, radio system, advanced telephone systems giving us location technology, and then finally the city's 800 megahertz radio system to dispatch fire and EMS resources throughout the city. But the original 911 call is taken and processed by Fire Communications call-taking personnel, and they'll use the computer system to code it as a fire or a medical event in nature.
Now, the different types of calls. Now, how many emergency calls do we receive in FCC?
We receive, as I said, approximately 1,000 911 requests a day.
1,000?
1,000 requests a day. About 800 are emergency medical services in nature, and about 200 are fire-related in nature.
So when we look at the end of the year, what's that number look like, the big number?
Total calls processed, received and processed in the 911 Fire Communications Center last year, 530,000.
530,000. That's what I wanted the audience to hear, just the sheer volume. And we handle those calls. We get emergencies taken care of. We process the calls to the right place, and sometimes it's to police. Most times it's to our fire emergency services, our emergency medical services. So it's quite a busy center. Now, what time of the day is usually the busiest, Mike?
Busiest time of the day is usually during the work week. I'd say around lunch hour. The busiest hour is 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., Commissioner. But anywhere from that noon to 2 p.m. during the work week. Okay, in the city you have, I believe at that time during the work week, business hours, approximately 2 million people in and about the city. At night it goes down to about 1.5, but that's when we see our peak hours during the week, during that those lunchtime hours. And then as the weather gets nicer, Friday and Saturday evenings can be busy type of high volume type of periods for us, especially as we're going into the summer months with people coming out. As you well know, June, July, and August will be our busiest volume type of periods.
Yeah, absolutely. And we always say 911 for real emergencies. And we get a lot of calls, but sometimes we get unusual calls. So what types of unusual calls do we receive in Fire Communications Center?
Oh, I've seen it, throughout the years, a whole gamut of things from children with their heads stuck in railings to, I mean, 911 also deals with emotional, psychological type of cases. So yes. Some of the hallucinations that are described to the call takers are bizarre. I've seen calls come in where someone's reporting that their baby has an issue, whether it's medical or breathing or something like that in nature, only to have a dispatcher give pre-arrival instructions and have a unit arrive on location. And here at the end of the day, the actual patient turns out to be the beloved pet. That
wow.
baby turns out to be the beloved pet. So I've seen a lot of unusual stuff, as far as, the cases themselves. Some can be heart-wrenching with tragic endings, but others, on the other hand, are career rewarding and come out with very great outcomes.
Absolutely. So. Every year we make sure that we honor our dispatcher of the year, and usually he or she has undertaken some call or held up under some extremely pressure-laden situation. But just last year, I know I listened to tapes and I heard our dispatchers take and deliver a child via dispatch, staying on the phone, and the person was actually outside on a sled, and they had the neighbors working, and they gave real clear instructions on everything to do, and it turned out to be positive.
Correct.
So those are some of the things that I've really enjoyed hearing. And like you said, again, sometimes it's real tough, hard to take situations, but we stay the course, and Fire Communications Center is really good. They do a great job. Well, I'd like to thank you for speaking with us, for keeping up the good work in the Fire Communications Center. And again, you have a lot of workers. They're well trained. You have a new crew that's coming in that's just out of school. You want to talk about that?
Sure, sure. We have 5 trainees that are about to come out and start working in the center. The way our initial training process works, it's intense. It's comprehensive. It involves an 8-week period, a theoretical period in the classroom, which they have just completed, which is pretty demanding academically. But they learn all about fire department operational procedures and where companies are. It's a pretty demanding academic experience. They've come through it with flying colors. The second portion or second phase of our training involves actual practical on-the-floor working with a crew. So I think they'll do fine out there and they'll be great employees for us.
Well, one of those employees may be a graduate, go out there, get on that fire communications floor, and then go through 34 years and become a chief dispatcher like you. Thank you so much for being here with us. And I'd like to say to you in the audience, don't touch that dial. I'll be right back. We want to say our next person coming up is very interesting, so stay tuned. Mr. Kirk Berry.
They said I would die.
My doctor told me I had ALS.
They said I wouldn't live to see my kids grow up.
But their doctors were wrong. Multifocal motor neuropathy, referred to as MMN, is a rare disorder that progressively weakens muscles in the extremities and is often mistaken for other serious neuropathies, as well as the ultimately fatal condition known as ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease. But unlike those disorders, MMN affects only lower motor nerves and has no sensory involvement. Symptoms tend to be asymmetric and characterized by weakness, cramping, twitching, or muscle atrophy, usually beginning in the hands. Disease progression depends on the length of time the patient remains without the correct MMN diagnosis. With early diagnosis and treatment, most MMN patients continue doing the things they enjoy.
Cooking.
Gardening.
Spending time with my family.
For more information, please visit these websites.
A diagnosis of breast cancer changes your life forever.
She told me I needed a mastectomy.
I was scared.
Absolutely in shock.
But you need to know that you're not alone. There are teams of medical professionals, support groups, and therapists, and those who can help you plan for life after cancer. Before you undergo surgery for breast cancer, get the facts. Make sure you know your breast reconstruction options. For more information, visit broaddayusa.org.
The environment is my passion. Every day, I live for the outdoors and all of its challenges. That's why I enlisted in the Coast Guard. Now, I serve to protect the environment and defend my country. It's like I was born for this.
Were you born ready for a greater challenge? Find out at GoCoastGuard.com.
Welcome back to Freedom from Fire. I'm Fire Commissioner Lloyd Ayers, and my guest in this segment is Mr. Kirk Berry. And Mr. Kirk Berry is with Project Dad. Tell me about Project Dad.
Thank you for having me, Commissioner. Project Dad is it's a program for fathers, non-custodial fathers, and we're under the People for People umbrella, and our CEO is Herb Lusk. And Project Dad program is pretty much working with non-custodial fathers. It's a fatherhood development program.
Well, that's powerful. And of course, Herb Lusk, Reverend Herb Lusk in the community is well known for his People for People program, for his construction and building a community, and just a ton of great things. So this is just another opportunity. So what made you want to start this organization?
Well, as you shared, Reverend Herb Lusk has been in the community for many years, And one of the areas that have been a large part of what he's doing is trying to rebuild the families. He's done a lot with the charter school, and he's done a lot with the welfare to work system and making sure that women get employed. And so fatherhood was just a piece that needed to be a part of, added to that part of the family. So for the last 2.5 years, Project Dad has been in existence, helping non-custodial fathers get re-engaged with their families and also helping them to get employed.
Well, that's fantastic. And of course, family is important always. But just why are fathers so important to the family?
Fathers are an important part of the family structure because they resemble for the children what a man should be and how a man should act. And so when you have fathers, when you have children that grow up without fathers being there, both boys and girls miss the mark on seeing what that example looks like. So the Project Dad program, we work on making sure we show these fathers how they can be more responsible and be a positive person in the relationship of their family.
Now, how many dads do you have that you're working with right now?
Currently, right now, we just had a cohort of 27 fathers that enrolled in our program, and they participated for an 8-week period just working on healthier relationships, dealing with a co-parent or trying to get back in their child's life because some of our fathers have been incarcerated for some time, and we try to show them how to have a healthy relationship with their child now that they're back in their child's life. Or they participate in our responsible fatherhood program, we're just responsible parenting, where we teach them some responsible tactics towards raising their children. And then after that, we help them get employed. We spend another 4 to 8 weeks helping them get employed. So 27 currently, and we're getting ready to enroll the next cohort where we hope to have anywhere between 45 to 60 fathers participate.
Oh, those are exciting numbers. Anytime you put one family back together, that is positive. Can you tell me some positive stories that you can share with our viewers about the outcomes with Project Dad?
Absolutely. We have a lot of positive stories, but a few that I can highlight. Sometimes people believe that a fatherhood program is just dealing with fathers who don't live with their children or fathers that are coming out of prison. And so all our fathers are on different stories or different walks of life. And one of our most recent fathers, he was in a pretty bad situation and did a long term in prison. And so most of the time they say that people who do long bids can't get employed. And so this father not only was able to get employed after completing our program, but he's been on his job for the last year successfully and has been able to move up the ranks. And so that's one of our most successful stories, you know, because they say sometimes it's easy to get people jobs, but to get them to stay on the job 30, 60, and 90 days is difficult. And we've been able to successfully do that. So that's just one story. Another story are some of our fathers haven't seen their children in 6 months to a year before our program. And in just a short time period, we teach them how to support the child's mother as opposed to always finding a way to disagree with some of the things she says. And when they communicate effectively and show that they want to have a partnership, those fathers that haven't seen their children in 6 months to a year, they get to see their kids miraculously over one weekend or get to have them for a time period because they talk about partnership and working together.
Oh, that is very, very good. And it sounds like you're having some great outcomes and great behavior changes. And absolutely, anytime, again, you can help one family, you've done something positive. When you start pushing through cohorts of 27, 40, 45, it's certainly going to help the community. Another positive program out of Reverend Lusk's church. So we just want to say thank you for what you're doing, and just let me know where you see Project Dad in the future. If you could just briefly give me an idea.
Briefly, Project Dad in the future will be a Project Family. It's good that we work with just the fathers right now, but we really need to work with the mothers and fathers, and we need to have the children involved as well. Well,
that's great. And we really do appreciate you coming here with us. I'd like you to help me out with something, though. We have our fire safety pledge. And as you know, when we start talking about family structure, being safe and productive is very important. So we'd like to give our viewers the fire safety pledge. Would you help me to give them the pledge?
Sure will, Deputy.
All right. If you'll raise your right hand and repeat after me. I love my family, and I am responsible for their safety. Therefore, I pledge the following. I pledge to have at least one working smoke alarm on each level of my home. I pledge to test my alarms as recommended and replace my alarms with new lithium battery-powered alarms when needed. I pledge that every family member will sleep with their bedroom door closed. I pledge to develop and practice a home escape plan. I pledge that if I cannot afford smoke alarms, I will call the non-emergency number 311 or visit www.phila.gov/311. All this I do solemnly pledge. Well, I'd like to thank you for being here. I'd also like to say to all of our viewers, thank you for listening in and making sure that you had an opportunity to take this in. Again, Chief Dispatcher Moore and Mr. Kirk Berry from DAD. And remember, freedom from fire is something that you can absolutely have. So God bless.